Welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about forecasting sales with time series methods, specifically regression, even though there are many other ways to deal with it. So what is a time series? As explained and defined there, a time series is a sequence of observations of a variable ordered by time period. It could be anything. Since we're in finance, we can talk about stock prices. Stock price every day it closes a certain point, or even during the day is changing. So time series is if you were to, let's say, check the daily closing stock price and put them in order, date order, then that's your time series. How did it change over time? Same thing can happen with sales. Now here we're going to talk about quarterly sales because companies report their financial statements every quarter. So for the first quarter, January, February, and March, on April, they put the numbers together and they report it for the first quarter and so on. So the last quarter, the fourth quarter, October, November, and December. In January, they put the numbers together and they report it. So what happens is that then every quarter you can put them in that order, date order, and that becomes your time series. In this image that you're seeing, they're talking about Amazon.com's quarterly sales. Now, let's look at this piece here first. So they're showing you from September to September every year. But in between the Septembers, there are the quarters in between them. Now, notice that while you can see a trend, it's not a smooth line. So what happens here that in the holidays, that last quarter of the year, you're going to see a spike. And that makes sense. People shop a lot more in the last few months, last couple of months of the year, couple of months. So showing you the overall upwards trend of sales in Amazon, but it's also showing you what we call a seasonal effect. It spikes during the holiday seasons. So when you look at it over here, if you were to do kind of an average trend, now we're looking at the red line, which is fine. The red line is an average that shows you the overall pattern, but it doesn't capture that every December, November, December, or even the last 3 months, it has those spikes. So if you were to try to forecast, project the sales in the future, you can do an average and follow the red line, but it's not going to represent what's really going on. It's not going to really predict these spikes. It's just going to give you some kind of average. And so it's not bad information, but it's not the best information you can get if you project just based on average. So let's look at some definitions here before we talk about the regression piece and how we're going to capture those. So you have the trend component, which is the long-term trend in a time series that shows the rising trend. That'll be your red line. So your red line is showing the rising trend. But then you have a seasonality component, the periodic fluctuations. That's the blue line showing the spikes. So ideally, you want to predict the overall trend with the spikes included. Then you got cyclical components, which that's more longer than a period than a year. You want to think like business cycle, economic cycles. Those can go 7 to 10 years. Every industry is different, but a cyclical component is a more longer period approach, a view of the prediction. And then irregular components. There's always some part of any time series that cannot be explained by any pattern. There's some randomness. It just happens. We are going to focus on the trend component and seasonality component here because we're going to aim to predict and project by the quarter and include those spikes that we saw. We are going to be using regression analysis for that. There will be another video where we're going to go ahead and do an exercise in an Excel sheet showing how it's done and comparing the prediction to the actual so you see how it works. But the idea is that you can use regression to forecast a time series with a time trend and also with seasonality. So while an average can give you that red line without the blue line, when you do regression, it can give you those spikes, that blue line type of thing in a projection. To deal with that seasonality, we have to then include what we call dummy variables. This you should have learned in a statistics class. And these variables are going to represent the quarters of each year. When we do the practical exercise, we will go over that specifically, how that's done. And a common practice in regression is that you always have to omit one of the variables. In this case, we're going to omit the fourth quarter, for example. So there's going to be a dummy variable for quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and then quarter 4, all the dummy variables will be zeroed out. In the practical exercise in Excel, you'll see the visual, you'll see what it looks like in practice. We will stop this video here, and then you can watch the Excel video on how this is done mechanically.